Welcome back. It's time for slot car fun. Every day is slot car fun. I come home every day from work, and work being my studio where we do motion picture effects and creatures and models and even work on Fiats, full-size ones. um, I come home, I grab a shot of tequila, I come back here and I sit at my track, and it's great wind down time. And so, it's like, I'm sure you all agree with me that that is a really nice thing to be able to do. And I bet I'm not the only one who does that. So if I'm not, let me know in the comments. I'd love to see it. I'd love to hear your stories. You hear my stories all the time, and I do plan to talk about what it was like before we look at this Ostorero Lotus 38 that I built. I want to talk about what it was like back in 1960, 61, right around in there, when I got my first slot car track. My dad and I had a real connection about racing because he raced and he liked slot cars, and we both got in it together. But it was amazing. It happened more than once. The first time I remember the slot car track was under the tree, and I knew it was there. In the middle of the night, I got up. My mom was asleep because my dad wasn't living with us anymore, and I carefully opened it up, brought it into my room, and this is in the middle of the night, and marveled at it and set it up and played with it, and then very carefully put it all back, taped it back up, stuck it back under the tree, and acted surprised the next morning. But it went on from there, because by the time I was 10, 11 years old, my dad was getting seriously into it, and he got me a Strombecker kit. And he lived in Terra Linda in this beautiful home. It was called an Eichler home. And he had this huge room where he did his art, but it was really, really long, really big. And so I always would go there on Christmas. And I opened up some presents, and it was really cool. And there was a couple slot cars, and it's like, oh, that's really neat. Now after I was done with that, he said, okay, I want you to go in my back art room. And I went back there, and he had set up a miniature Indianapolis 500 oval track back there that was quite large, and that was mine. I just played with that thing all day, and I collapsed at the end of the day. I can still remember how well I slept that night and couldn't wait to get up again the next morning and play with it. Of course, I brought it home. I didn't really have that much room for it, but I did set it up and put it down again. As time went by and I got to be 12, 13, I set up in my mom's garage 2 tracks, and I had one that was like a dirt track for midgets, and also I was racing 124 scale cars. I was building them. There was a track, actually several tracks locally. That would have been about 64, right around in there. And I used to literally walk to them on foot with my slot car pit box and 2 slot cars. And in fact, one of them, this 124 scale car. Now, I recently got from a friend of mine who runs a hobby shop. A guy brought in a bunch of old slot car stuff. Someone passed away. I got this huge box of slot car stuff, and in it was some track, transformers, some controllers, and a bunch of cars. And one of the cars, one of the frames was this one. It was a rust kit. Motor in it. I don't know who made the frame, but it's the frame that I had. And I remember the car I had on it, and it was the Lotus 40, which I love. So I've been slowly but surely working on this. I really have no place to run this, but this has all original 60s equipment, and the body is also a remake from the same body casting of the Lotus 40 from that time. So I used to go to the track and race all the time, and it was just a wonderful thing. I loved it so much, and my dad and I used to race all the time together, and every Christmas I could look forward to some new slot car stuff or a new track, and I tell you, there's nothing like it, and it still holds true today. I just can't wait to play with this track. Out of all my other hobbies, flying airplanes and RC submarines and RC cars and even flying, full-size airplanes. I love this. There's just, and I think a lot of it's because of the connection I had with my dad. He passed away in 1966 in a senseless car accident. Someone was driving at blistering speeds down the wrong side of the road in the fog when he was heading out to his job in Mare Island. The guy was being chased by highway patrol, and he wasn't yielding, and he was driving down the wrong side. I guess my dad saw him and drove off a bridge, and that was that. So, there's a day that goes by when I'm working on slot cars and playing with him. I don't feel him right there, and he loved this stuff, and we had such a great bonding over it. And so that has a lot to do with how much I love it, too. I'd love to hear your stories, too. I bet you got some great ones. That's a short story. There's more to it, but I do want to talk about Daniel Ostorero's cars, and one of his cars that I really, really enjoyed building was the Lotus 38. That was raced at Indianapolis and did very well there. And I remember opening up the kit the first time and looking at it and saying, how come the suspension's shorter on one side than the other? And I forgot. It was Indy. So you're doing all correct. If I'm wrong, you're doing all left-hand turns. So that the kit was that accurate. He had every single detail in it, and that he could get in a slot car and still have it be that car. So let's take a look at it. So here it is in I call the pit area. We all have one, don't we? Is the car. And this is not a prefab that you can, a lot of his cars you can get prefabricated. They paint them, they completely finish them off for you, and they do an excellent job, probably better than I did. They did, but on the other hand, his kits they're beautiful. Everything fits together exactly as it should. There's no hang-ups, there's no mismatched parts. It's just terrific, and everything he gives you with it are such high quality, from the tires, which never seem to need to be cleaned, the inserts, the whole frame is metal, beautifully done, just a beautiful thing. Very small motor. We'll take a look at it in a minute. The driver in it, I position the head looking to one side. I do that a lot. I really like that effect. There's a lot of photo etch stuff in this. These little T-bars to hold up and support the exhaust pipes. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful detail. It's very dirty for me driving it. I drive this car a lot. You know why? It does not lose control or flip out very easily. I've never rolled this car. You can see the instrument panel there. The driver is full. His legs are there. The famous red steering wheel. He's got the decals there on Bobby's head. I mean, it's just, the fuel fillers are amazing. And you just see a little bit of the frame showing down there. Not much, just a little bit. So let's open this up and take a look inside. Now, we've got 4 screws to hold this on, and I'm not hands-free with this iPhone. I'm on 4K, so hopefully you can see the detail pretty well. What I'm going to do is undo these 4 screws, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I'm going to lift this off. It lifts off that clean. And this is what we got inside. Now, I'm seeing grease. Is that grease? That's interesting. I'm not sure what that is. But there's always interesting things inside the car. But you can see how the frame is made. You can see the level of detail that's in it. And you can't solder these parts. What you do is you use CA. You clean it, you CA it. You can see the shock absorbers, the stabilizer bars, the A-arms. It's really, really a class act, is it not? And it's dirty, because you know what? I race these cars. Well, I race them with myself, and I just basically run them around, because I'm not doing club racing much at all anymore. With the sudden uprise in COVID, in my getting COVID, and I see this is broken. So I got a little repair job to do there before I can show you this on the track. You can see how the slot guard is put in and how there's a big spacer there so you can adjust it easily. Sorry about that. I'm not a big iPhone fan because they put buttons in really hazardous spots where you can just change your grip on the phone and you turn it off. You can see the motor. Now, I bought several of these motors. I found the source. I wanted to get some of these, and I think it was Daniel who told me where he got his. It was a company in Canada, and I bought a bunch of them because they're really good and they're quite strong for their size. You can see the crown gear he includes with it and the pinion. You can see the bearings, and these wheels are really high quality. Aluminum, of course, with inserts that fit just perfectly. You can just press them in. I put a little glue on them just so I don't lose them. A little about a thin CA. So that's basically it. I mean, it's just a beautiful piece of work. So what I'm going to do is fix this. Oh, yeah, solder that back. I'm going to show you underneath. Very, very clean. Now this was a kit, and it comes pre-painted BRG, British Racing Green, I believe that's what that is. And it gives you all the decals, which will take you some time to figure out where to place them all. This has got the double windshield. And all these little photo etch parts that fit very nicely down in these little locations like that. And you can see how much clear I got on it. It's dirty right now, so it's not as shiny as it can be. It's got a little bit of oil and stuff on it from being run. But their paint worked very well, and I wrote to Danielle. I said, what kind of paint did you use? Because I don't want to put the wrong kind of clear on it. And he told me, and it was enamel, and so I was able to just put a good clear coat on it. Every single part had to be painted except the body. Everything had to be detached from the trees. You can see how the tie rods are free floating on the body so that they come down on top of the suspension there. And these are already in place. So it's very, very, very well thought out. I just love the way the driver looks in there. It looks like he's alive and looking around. So as I said, I'm going to strip that, put this back in, and we're going to run this. I wanted to show off real quick this t-shirt that I got from Blip Shift. I just love it. I've been buying a lot of them there. Dave Kennedy was the first person to make me aware of the shirts because he always had these cool shirts. And they came from blipshift.com. In fact, somewhere here, which is also really cool. Blip Shift. So yeah. So anyway, I got the car here. I fixed the slot guide and soldered it up, and we're gonna run the car on the track now. Now keep in mind, I am doing this solo. I don't have anybody helping me. I don't have this camera on a tripod, and trust me, I have tripods galore. Fluid heads, 4K cameras, lots of lavaliers, a sound mixer, a sound recorder, tons of lights. I'm lazy. It's easier to do these shows on the fly with the iPhone set for 4K, so bear with me. I'm running it nice and slow. It will go fast. Not blazingly fast. But I'm also trying to... Brushes are dirty, so there's a dead spot over here that it likes to stop at. I'm only doing about a quarter throttle right now. So that little motor does pack a punch. As you can see, it's flying by. That was full throttle. See if I can get down here. I'm going at a pretty good clip now, and it's just staying in the track. Watch me crash it for the first time right here on Slot Car Fun. I'm getting pretty good at this. Well, a little fishtail there. Now the tires are dirty, and yet look how well they're staying stuck to the track. That car is amazing. And I have his Dream Slot 2, which I covered in another video. That is just amazing as well. I am going back for more. He's got some Indy cars. My dad and I used to watch Indy all the time on television. Yeah, back in the early 60s. And he was a big Indy fan. And in fact, he built, after I got my Indy track out of there, he built one to scale size, roughly. Maybe it wasn't quite scale, but it was right up there. And he used to have all his friends over. Bobby Unser, AJ Foyt, I think, came over once or twice. A few of the drivers. He knew Mario Andretti. He knew a bunch of them. I know because he's taken me to track and introduced me to them, and then they'd come over from time to time and race on his slot car track. They would burn racing fuel for the spell. They had a record player, a turntable there that they played sounds from Indy on. And they'd have these very serious races, and they'd put a bunch of money in a pot and they'd race for the money. And they had a great time, and I loved being around that. I mean, I spent a long time in garages with my dad because he has friends all around town, and they have their race cars in the garage, and we'd go over there and they'd drink some beers and they'd work on the cars, and it was really wonderful. I mean, my dad, he was a driver. He really was. He loved cars. So we really bonded on that. And this car here, he would have been crazy about right there, that car, because he was. I remember when they did hit the track. So, yeah. Wonderful times. They are still continuing. And Dad, you're here with me every day. Thanks, guys, for watching Slot Car Fun. If you like the show, please give me a like. And be sure to watch That Slot Car Guy and Dave Kennedy's Slot Car News. Slot Car News and That Slot Car Guy are the best. They really are the backbone of the hobby, and we really love them, and they keep me enthusiastic and informed and just thrilled to be part of this. If you like the videos, again, please like and also subscribe, and you'll find in my videos there is so much material. Everything from how I did things for Ghostbusters, creatures I made, masks I make, my Hollywood career, radio-controlled submarines, radio-controlled cars, radio-controlled airplanes. There's something there for everybody. I do a lot of hobbies and I embrace them all. So we'll see you again next week for more fun with Slot Car Fun. Thanks, guys.